Hey folks, we're live with 3D Politics once again on a Monday night. I'm Tom McKay, I'm your host with all three Davids, the Davids that matter right here in Oklahoma. David D'Ambroso, David Oldham, and David Van, the man with the plan. We're going to start off with the thing we teased last week, the Project Veritas, exciting release of their video, undercover video of Google execs talking about the ungodly. Let's hear it.
And I just want to mention, this always gets on yours, I never mentioned I wanted to. We're on our phones, we're trying to moderate comments, and this streams several different places. So each one of us sometimes is moderating a different stream, or just answering questions. But yeah, James O'Keefe, he started on the national scene about a decade ago. You remember that? A little
Acorn, he took him down.
Yes.
With Acorn, that's right. And man, I think at the Planned Parenthood fetal tissue scandal. I mean, you know, he's one of the few journalists that still exist.
Yeah,
you know,
Pastor Giles' daughter worked with him. She was dressed as a prostitute. Remember that?
Yeah,
Going into the Planned Parenthood.
He was asking Planned Parenthood about how to prostitute underage women, and they were giving him help. They're really excited about it.
He was the pimp. She was the.
He literally walks in a pimp get up, and he's like, "Oh, she's like 14 or 15." But anyways, how do we do this without getting caught? And Planned Parenthood was more than happy to accommodate.
Yeah.
How long ago was this? I remember this, but this was
right after Obama got in.
This is several years ago. 8 to 10.
Is like 08, and I think the Planned Parenthood thing was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been 9-10 for Acorn.
It's amazing though that is seemingly old news
Dave
now.
Van's right.
I mean, this just happened basically, but it seems like old news. Is the Acorn thing? It just happened.
Yeah, they're social activists, and what they were trying to do was get their help with some human trafficking, bring in, I think, some underage girls from Honduras to work sex trade.
It keeps getting worse.
Yeah, I know. That's James O'Keefe.
Yeah.
Yes, that's James O'Keefe.
I'm interested in human slavery, and Planned Parenthood is more than happy to oblige. They're like, sounds great to us. We like to murder children. You just like to own them? Great. That's awesome.
So the new one is about Google execs.
You know, I have been assured by some of my left of right friends, okay, that it's impossible for a giant corporation to have ulterior motives that are not in the interests of the people. Wow. And that it is impossible for Google to censor. It's just not what they do. You can't teach a machine to censor. But in fact, that's what they're doing.
And if you don't believe it, just ask them. They'll tell you.
Ask him, yeah.
Exactly.
He knows. And so, you know, just a lot of damning statements that he had one-on-one, and the video doesn't lie. They claim the videos are edited, but it's amazing because he typically provides his entire roll unedited, no cuts. It doesn't stop the dishonest media from saying it's cut up. So, you know, he just has Google executives on film saying, we legit must stop President Trump. It's a lot like the Lisa Page Strzok issue, where they're saying we need insurance, except Google's fleshing out how it works. And if you don't believe it, just use their autocomplete feature. You can't get to Hillary Clinton emails autocomplete typically, but you can get to Donald Trump Jr. emails or something.
Right.
You can't get to any kind of negative, naturally searched, organically searched topic that should be in that field unless it's about a conservative and it's negative.
Right. Yep, that's what autocomplete does. It allows them to steer you in the way they want you to.
And they steer a lot. And this executive was talking about how after you watch a conservative commentator on YouTube, typically the algorithm would find people like that commentator, another conservative commentator. The algorithm often wouldn't even know that's what it's doing, but there are these similarities that are there that indicate at a higher level that it's a conservative commentator more than someone labeling it more so.
Yeah.
So what they do instead is when you're watching something like a Stefan Molyneux, he's not even a Republican, he's not American, he's not conservative, he doesn't even espouse voting. He tells people not to vote. Okay?
Right.
And he's considered, well, he's anyone to the right of Mao, and that's not acceptable. So the algorithm is programmed to steer you to the Young Turks or something, or MSNBC, or something far left.
Right.
Artificially, rather than the actual machine learning that should take you to another conservative commentator.
We're getting in the weeds here.
It purposely, the search engine of Google that we know from the Project Veritas video, they have purposely skewed the search results to show more for what wasn't searched. That is, it would snowball if more people were searching for one thing.
Yes.
But what they've tried to do is purposely balance it out. And if everybody's looking for Santa Claus, then they balance it out and search for the opposite of that.
And then they say, look what's trending.
Right, exactly. In fact, they said that I think it was Kamala Harris was the winner of the debate because more people searched for her name. So consensus picks a winner, which also was true with this Mary Jane Williamson, or whoever the freak is with the deal. Who is she? Mary Ann
She's
Williamson?
an American citizen. That blew my mind. I thought I can't place her accent. She's some kind of foreigner.
You just don't like love. That's what's wrong with you.
I think
I thought that
she
hairstyle,
threatened me of love.
that hairstyle went out with Farrah Fawcett. But the point is, she was the most searched name for the second debate.
Yeah, and Republicans are
So
donating her.
doesn't
You
that
know
make her
to-
the winner? I mean,
to ensure
isn't
that
that-
she stays in the debates.
It's like consensus wins the day, you know? And yet Google balances out consensus by giving you the opposite results. You know, they opposite
They
up. What
claim
else?
that they're a neutral party, but they're absolutely not.
They're not a neutral party. If they're a neutral party, they wouldn't balance out what they see as not
Well,
neutral.
and this leads into what they're looking to be hit with in court.
Yeah, but what's the substance they're saying? I want you to be clear on that. What did James O'Keefe uncover?
There are documents that I haven't had a chance to look at all of them, but essentially they're highly technical in nature that prove this beyond a shadow of doubt, that they are manipulating their algorithms to deplatform conservatives.
They have
There's
a
no-
picture of
there's
the
no
flow
question.
chart of the algorithm
Yeah.
of how it decides what to send where.
Yes.
And his conversation indicates this as well. I mean, anyone with half a brain has noticed it, but now we have the empirical evidence. Okay.
Oh, correct. Right, because it started like Alec Jones, right? And all of a sudden we got, what's his name with the McGinnis?
Yeah. Gavin.
Gavin McGinnis.
Crowder got kicked off the platform for no reason.
Yes.
For violating
absolutely
no terms
reason.
of service.
You know, and then Paul Joseph Watson just got booted, I think from Twitter.
And you can have the Young Turks or leftists up there advocating terrorist organizations like Antifa that have most recently attacked gay Wall Street journalists.
Right.
And
But-
put them in the hospital, like life-threatening injuries. These guys aren't conservatives.
Right. So Twitter said with Stephen Crowder, he says, you didn't violate any rules, but we're still punishing you.
We don't like it.
Because your intent is not nice.
Well, and here becomes the issue. You know, none of us want a private business held to the same level of scrutiny as the government.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
Except that these people are now in violation of libel, often slander, and other things that they put
Well,
out.
they can't exist without government funding. They get subsidies and all kinds
Well,
of...
but it's not just that. The point is that when they,
His point is.
my point is when they start censoring, they become a publisher for the things that they do
That's right.
allow.
Publisher platform is the difference.
Yeah, somebody needs to explain that because
Okay.
I think I have a hard time understanding.
Okay, so a platform is literally like just a public forum in the public park or at the public square.
It's a stage at
Okay?
the park.
It's a stage
Right.
at the park. Anybody can be there and anybody can say
As
whatever.
long as you aren't beating up on people or inciting violence against them,
Doing
right?
Say whatever you
criminal
want.
acts.
Okay, so
Okay.
there are some rules, but you're not otherwise.
And you,
Both Westboro Baptist
you can't-
Church and the transgendered kindergarten reading hour can perform,
Right.
and alternating hours there, it doesn't matter. There's
and
no...
must be allowed. If they are, if there becomes a fault toward one, I mean you know a bias toward one and against another. Now all of a sudden everything is skewed, and you are no longer a platform. You're no longer a forum.
Right.
And
Because
so now you can be held liable for the things you do allow, as would.
Now you're the New York Times.
right,
Well,
because
because-
you're curating or you're editorial.
You're
in nature.
promoting.
Yes.
So it's not just the author of the content who would be liable. You now, as the publisher, are
Right.
also liable.
Yeah.
Like the New York Times is liable
Well-
for what they're authors put out.
Because
if
they're
it's-
engaging in discretion. A platform engages in
Yes.
no discretion.
Now, I'll
whereas
tell
a
you
publisher
that.
does.
As publisher of Sooner Politics, I have dozens of blogging partners. I told each one of them, I will have no editorial control of your content. Your feed will run as is. And I've had at least 4 or 5 times demands from people, you take that down, something somebody else wrote. As soon as I do that, then I'm liable for what everybody else wrote, right?
For every word.
Well,
you have
Because
to.
I'm assuming an editorial role.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Then you're
maybe or
published.
maybe not. But I mean, if
In
you
principle.
Yeah.
in principle, you are, because of the fact that you are letting it go without editing it. Then it becomes your editorial.
Yes.
And if you're not editing it and something slips through that's actually criminal, then you would be like
You
would
open
be also
yourself
liable.
up.
If-
You open yourself up. to
Once
be
I start editing what other people
And
write.
right
Yeah.
now, these tech giants like Google or Facebook, Twitter, they have immunity, congressional given immunity for some reason, as if they are a platform, when they are not.
because
when
they
they
have
are
been
They
editing.
started as a platform.
Yes.
correct.
They have moved into the
And
power.
now we're having some
Yeah.
hearings. Now they refuse to take my money. They don't bake the cake for me. If you go into a tiny Christian baker's business and demand they bake some kind of Holocaust cake or gay cake or whatever, they have to bake it. As ruled by, I believe, the District Court of Appeals, I think a Circuit Court, and did that go to the Supreme Court? I think that was upheld that they had. They ruled narrowly.
Twice they said, try it again without the bias.
They ruled narrowly, the Supreme Court, not that they didn't have to bake the cake, just that it was inappropriate, the bias engaged
Right.
against their Christian beliefs.
They gotta
That's
retry.
all they ruled,
Yeah.
is that bias is inappropriate, not that they couldn't be forced to bake the cake.
Right.
So Facebook doesn't have to take my money when I try to give it to them in my campaign and other political endeavors to pay the $1 to get your natural audience. I'll explain this a little bit in the weeds. If you don't get your organic reach on Facebook unless you spend $1 to advertise with them. Then you get your natural 100% organic reach plus that $1. You get some kind of modifier, however they tweak it, and it's largely tweaked to keep conservatives out. Big secret, right? So it would behoove them to not allow me to pay $1 for my content to reach, instead of reaching, getting 1,500 shares, getting 5,000 shares or something like that. That's what was happening before they were tweaking the algorithm. So what they do is they give you the runaround. They have this new feature, this barrier where you have to prove your identity. You have to submit an ID,
Yep.
and you have to prove that you are who you say you are.
Yep.
And you have to prove that you're a political candidate or not a political candidate or whatever. I've submitted that paperwork probably a dozen times. They actually accepted it. Nothing changed. I was in. And they keep saying, oh, no, we don't have your paperwork. And conveniently, you can't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And they've re-accepted it, and they'll let me post ads occasionally when I say, listen, I've done this a million times, this is unacceptable, I'm going to seek legal counsel on this, and it's amazing. I get the privilege to pay them
It's
to
more
run
of
my
attrition.
ad.
They know.
So what's
they
the
know
difference?
that your time is going to run
They
out.
slow walk you.
Yeah, they're just slow walking.
And it's slow walking. If you slow walk, to the right extent, is as if you are a complete barrier.
Absolutely.
And that's what they are now, because I've just given up on it. It's been over a year and dozens of attempts.
Yep.
So let me ask you, what's the difference between compelling someone to bake a cake that doesn't want to bake a
Yep.
cake for you, and compelling Facebook to take my money to boost my political content,
The
even though they don't
law.
want to?
The law. The state of Colorado, the state of Washington made laws demanding it of the bakery, of the pizza place. They haven't made these laws of Facebook
So could the
yet.
state of Oklahoma make a law, even though, Facebook is in Oklahoma, right? How about Twitter and
Yeah.
Google? If
Yeah.
you're going to operate in
Well-
the state of Oklahoma, right?
Yeah,
There are fiber optics.
Good luck trying to control the internet. I think on a federal level, yes. Now, here's my point on it. I like you, Oldham. I agree that private industry should be private. We've got a situation where our government sets up protected monopolies. Take your utilities, for instance. You don't have the choice of 3 electric companies where you live. Okay.
So you can get the best service.
You have the best service, don't you know? And so when they set that up, along with it comes regulatory oversight. This is what Mussolini called corporatism. He said, Economic fascism ought rightly be called corporatism because it's a merging of the corporate and the state.
Correct.
And so this is what we've got when we don't have true free enterprise, when we set up protected monopolies. Now, here's where I'm tying it in. When you essentially are so dominant in an area, and let's take the Microsoft ruling to 2000. They were using their near monopoly on operating systems at the time. They were over 90% of home computers. And they were using it to leverage out the Netscape browser. Yes, there used to be a browser called Netscape. Okay?
And it came with Windows.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
That's what
It
the Trail of Tears, right?
Windows put their own Internet Explorer, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
It's that other worthless browser.
Yes.
Yes.
And so this is the thing. They were utilizing their monopoly one area, and the government, by whatever justification, said this is predatory practices to try
That's so
to
mild compared
leverage
to what's
up.
going on now.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's
And
good business is
you
what
know,
it was.
and really that's why you know
Their argument was you couldn't hop on your Windows 95 machine or Windows 2000, use Internet Explorer, and type in Netscape. And
I will
download it.
tell you what, back in the days of download, even at 56K baud modem, when I downloaded Internet Explorer 4, the update, it took 17 hours.
I remember that.
No. It
Oh,
took 8 hours. It was 17 megs. 17 megs used to take us all night long.
Yeah.
Right.
So, well, here's my next thing. And Oldham, you and I were at a meeting with a Washington think tank representative Thursday night. And part of that meeting, he was going around the country talking to grassroots groups saying, we've got to have some contingencies here for the next election cycle. Because we don't know what's going to happen. Right now, if Facebook's working for you, if Google's working, YouTube's working for you, then God bless you. But you better be ready with a redundant backup. What say you guys?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what. See, that's the problem. There is no backup. It's like saying, well, you know, that highway you paid for, well, we're not going to let you use it. I know everybody uses it, I know, but a private company constructed it, so you can't use the roads. Now, yeah, they got a lot of government money, and they get special government privileges, but you can't use it because, listen, they're a private company. They're totally separate.
How about if we just let you use the right lane and not the left lane?
Well,
driving the
and
shoulder.
I think we'd all agree there needs to be some backup redundancies that is somewhat unified and everybody's on the same place. But until there is, I'll say,
I
for
agree.
instance,
They might not ever
right
exist.
now, when this show on Facebook ends, I'm going to download a copy and put it on YouTube. YouTube works really well. However, I'm going to use a backup redundancy to YouTube in case I get the Alex Jones treatment where they burn my whole library without notice.
Right. The problem
You know?
is you get banned from all these platforms and you have no reach.
Yeah.
You've essentially been banned from the internet.
I
There
will
are
say-
no multi-billion-dollar giants to fight them.
You're not yet, but I think we're ripe for the toppling of these big ones.
Yeah.
Remember, MySpace used to own social networking. Who? MySpace.
Yeah.
Yes. So-
Netscape and MySpace.
Yeah. And before that, there was Zynga.
They didn't give me, sweet treats from the Congress.
So I'm telling you, they can get knocked down within a month. You'd say, who were they? Who's still on that platform?
If you're familiar with the term legacy account on YouTube, you know that you've been a person that had videos before Google bought YouTube.
Yes.
And so legacy account is that experience where you're like, I can't get to my content because YouTube now has control of it, whether they own it or not.
I don't know why you'd want to. It all had to be less than 10 minutes anyway.
It was so good.
We got some comments going on. So, but yeah, I think we've got to be ready, folks. And I don't know. I'm not trying to lead the charge. I'm not saying where to go. I don't have any financial investment in any of these alternatives.
the problem is they built a giant worldwide utility, and the whole argument economically behind a monopoly-controlled utility is economies of scale. It just costs so much money up front that you have to make it over the coming years and decades, and that only someone with a massive pile of resources and money can enter. So, I don't know how many users Facebook has. It's like 1 billion or 2 billion.
Well, let me say this.
MySpace never approached that.
Facebook had become the giant, and my oldest son said to me at one point, he said, Dad, watch out, Instagram's going to overtake Facebook. What did Facebook do? They bought out Instagram. They own Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, so
And
that's
someone
that.
can teach me how to use that.
It takes a while.
You know, but I think, do we have some comments here? I think some people.
Anybody?
Yeah, anybody?
I think it's Blake. My eyes
I see a lot of Blake. Blake's,
All right.
Blake's on here a lot.
Is Blake liking it or
Blake,
hey?
we need to start you your own webcast weekly. Maybe Dan Broso.
We gotta get you in on
Yeah.
this.
Well, what's his comment?
Did anybody
That's
have?
the idea. We're supposed to have Blake on last week. Well, he's
Dan
reading
Broso,
that.
you're supposed to have your phone out. Is Dan?
Never. Listen, I'm giving up on it.
Okay. All right. What do we got?
All right, we're going to move on to the Comrade Kamala Harris. She said at the